Here I am. I don't know what it was, a Tuesday night or something like that, and I was sitting on the box. I was saying the prayers, and I was just like, I don't understand. And before I could say another word out loud, this light and this heat formed behind me. Like I'm sitting here, and it was behind me, and I'm looking like this, and I turn around, and it's Jesus,
How did you know it was Jesus?
because he looked like himself.
Like, so it was the blonde hair, blue eyes? Like, that
Oh,
was.
he had brown hair, brown eyes. He didn't have blue eyes, he had brown eyes.
Okay, wow.
Okay, and he was putting his arms out to me, and he was in white robe. He was really short too. I wanted to, like, I'm 5'10", and
Yeah.
he is really short, but he floats. So he was moving towards me, and I turned around, and I was like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. I'm absolutely going crazy. I don't know what the heck is happening here. And I backed up and I backed up and I opened the door and I ran out the building and I ran down the boulevard and I ran all the way to get home.
Hi, everybody. This is E here, and this is the Vision Rebirth podcast, a podcast where we explore life changing stories of near death experiences, out of body experiences, divine dreams, meditations, and encounters with higher beings. Today, we have a special guest. She is a certified channel and core energy life coach. She's also an intuitive medium and channel hailing from Queens, New York. We have Leigh Grode. How are
Hello.
you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
That's so good, so good. I thank you again for coming on. And so I guess like let's just get right into it. I thought like your story was so interesting because you had like sort of like a multitude of NDEs and different like experiences of the spiritual world. So I guess I want to start with the first one when you were in Amsterdam, and unfortunately you were like, it sounds like you were like being robbed, like you were a target in a robbery, and that's the first time that you remember at least leaving your body.
It's actually the second time, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
first time I have a much more connected memory, and like things happened as opposed to a previous time when I was 17 in New York, and I just woke up on a slab in the morgue.
Wow. So when you woke up in the morgue, you don't remember what happened.
Correct. What I remember is coming back into consciousness. Well, I know that I had overdosed on drugs. I'm a recovering addict, about to celebrate 40 years clean. Um,
Congrats.
yeah. But I had overdosed really badly, is what happened. And I was not upstate fully. I was in Westchester County, and yeah, I was alone, and I took 750 about. In the old days we used to get these tubs of medication of pills, and
Okay.
so it was like 800 pills in the container, and I took like, if not more than half of it, with a half a bottle of gin, and
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So that's what happened. I think I was probably pretty um, not conscious. I was not awake in the process, if you will. I
Hmm.
just, so that's a whole other area. But yeah, so when I came back, what happened was I came back, I was on a slab, and I saw this really bright light. And so I didn't know what had happened.
Hmm.
I sat up because I was under a white sheet, and I sat up to move
Wow.
toward the light. And I scared the guy in the morgue, let me tell you.
I bet. Like, that's kind of crazy. You woke up in a morgue. So they actually thought you were dead. How long were you at the morgue?
I don't know that in reality time. Like there's a whole piece of all of this that's blocked out of my mind.
Mm.
So that's why I tend to talk about Amsterdam, because I have all the pieces, but I did have a near death experience, and I did. come back. So,
Well, what about the one in Amsterdam that
yeah.
you do remember?
Well, I was a student at the Academy there, and I was with my teacher, and we were doing some work on the film I was about to make. And I went to the phone booth, and in Holland they had these big, big phone booths, bigger than English phone booths. And I was in the green box, and I was calling my girlfriend at the time to tell her that I was late because I was supposed to meet her at this club, a cafe of sorts. And so I called, and as the phone picked up, these hands came out of nowhere and they covered my eyes, kind of like peekaboo. And I was like, oh, peekaboo, first thought. Second thought, wait a second, I'm in Amsterdam. Nobody here plays peekaboo with me, right?
Right.
So I elbowed, and the guy's grip uh, released. And then there were two sets of hands on me, and they pulled me out of the phone booth. And there were three fellas all together. And one of them kicked my right hip through my rib cage and knocked me to the ground. And then the other one jumped on my body, beating my head into the cement.
Mm.
And then what happened was I literally just sat up and left. It was like pushing off, It
Hmm.
was that kind of very light, very airy. There was no resistance between here, there, or anywhere. It was just this transition up. Um, it had no force in it. I went up, and it was this energy that was it didn't have color. I didn't have that. It wasn't about light or dark. For me, it was about texture and and literally experiencing different frequency levels, like going through different levels of energetic fields. Like, like I didn't know what it was. And then I would get to this place, and it was so loving. It was the purest, most outrageous love I had ever experienced. And didn't come from this ooey gooey sticky uh, family love. So it wasn't something that was my day to day experience, but this was like the most just incredible. And I came to understand in that moment that the source of all things felt very feminine and motherly in the best way possible. But then a voice came and spoke to me, and it was a male voice. And so in that moment, I realized that God or source or whatever you want to call that energy was energy, and that it contained everything that existed
Mm.
right there. And this voice said to me, go back in your body. And I still had my personality. I didn't have my body, but I had my personality. And I said,
Yeah.
no, they're, they're beating the blank out of me down there. I don't want to go back there. And the response was not like pull out a chair and have a conversation. The response was complete silence, a deafening silence that
Mm.
was outrageous. And I was like, that feeling when you go, oh, I don't know where I am, but I just did something wrong.
Right.
And I'm there in this place, and I'm like, so it was my personality and my in my energetic field. And so the voice came again and said, go back in your body. And it wasn't like I said yes, I just aligned with the idea of yes, and I got sucked back to earth. That's the only time I felt
Wow.
really fast elevator that is a non-human experience. And I got sucked back into my flesh, and I bounced like, when, and the three guys jumped back, and they grabbed my attache case and they ran.
Wow.
And so there I am, laying on the ground in the old west of Amsterdam. And I had to get up. And I was pissed because all my information and my documentary information, everything was in that attache case. And it would do
Mm.
nobody but myself good.
So
So
you was more upset that they took your stuff than anything, huh?
that's correct. That's correct.
I have a question about like why do you like remember like that one, but then the other one it's like you don't remember at all. It's like a blank space. Like do you think that
I
like
think
that was purposeful?
Well, I think it's circumstantial. I think it's more that I was clean and sober at that time.
Okay.
So there was nothing in the field to block my vision or my
Mm.
ability to be present that way.
Mm. That's
And
interesting.
yeah, and so the other thing was also because the overdose was something self-inflicted,
Okay.
and,
Okay.
and that the circumstances of the attack were perpetrated by three other people.
Okay. I
And
get,
so
so it was almost like an accident that with the robbery, and your overdose was on purpose.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if those are the variables that are, I just believe that everything's planned out before we're born.
Yeah.
And that there was a big learning I was coming into by being attacked at that time. I mean, as you know, as life is going on and I've done my soul work and understand the difference, because that's what I do with people. I do soul work and understand why being a human being, why we have certain things we need to accomplish to increase our frequency of our essence, the energy around us and through us. And so I think that I needed an adjustment, literally,
Mm-hmm.
and it was something that was also interesting because I did have another very heavy spiritual experience with Jesus Christ, and I'm
Right.
Jewish. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the energy that I experienced with Jesus um, was the same energy I experienced when I was out in my body.
Well, tell me about the experience with Jesus, because this wasn't an out of body experience, right? Like this was
Right.
more like
No, I
a.
was present. I was awake. I was right here having a conversation like you and I are right now. There was no sleeping. I was awake. I had been in a drug program back in the 70s in New York. And I went there for free therapy because I had all these boyfriends and I was engaged to be married and kept falling in love with girls. So, long story shorter, is that's the name of this podcast. Long story short, um, she kissed me.
Okay.
And I was like, whoa. And I went for it. And I made love with a woman for the first time who happened to be my best friend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most incredible experience I had had up until that day.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
so, but then right after that, everything hit the fan. And we went back to the program after summer vacation, and they found out about what happened with me and this gal.
And this program, it sounds like it was one of those programs where they like try to like turn you straight type of things.
Well, no, it was a drug program, but they had an agenda to turn me straight. That's
Okay.
so, but that
Okay.
wasn't the impetus of the program. The program was like a synanon related program,
Gotcha. Okay.
and so it was about basically breaking you down. But the part they forgot is to rebuild people up after they broke
Mm-hmm.
you down. So they were really good at the breaking down a person, but they weren't effective in terms of helping someone create a transition in their life. And that,
Right.
as a
Right.
direct result of that, that was very destructive behavior. So I went back and they were mad, screaming, cursing, calling me names. They called me in the office. They told me not to go to group. They said, we want you to go and get a box, a wood box, and paint it a color that represents you. And I was like, why? And then they said, and then get a doll. And I was like, first, before they said get the doll, they said, and you come to the community meeting where everybody in the whole program comes together once a week. And so in that meeting, they had the women were told to turn away from me. So I can't catch them in my gaze and seduce them by looking
Mm.
at them because I was all that.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm that powerful. Just by looking at a gal, I'm going to make her go, "Ooh, come on, man! I want some of that." And and the men could say whatever they wanted to me, and they called me some horrific names, and it was real, and it went on for hours. And I had to stand on that box I painted, and I had to beg for forgiveness. It was such a disturbing experience. It went on, I think, like 4 hours, and then they said we're going to break up into smaller groups, which is called SEC group, SEC. Uh, it's to learn about sensitivity, education, and communication. And sometimes it was about sex or whatever. So we all had our own small groups. So we break up into different groups. And I go into my group and I sit down on the floor and I refuse to get up on the box. And the head of the program and the assistant director of the program come into the room and they said, "Get up on the box, Leigh." I said, "No." They said, "Why do you mean no?" I said, "No. I came here for help. And what you're making me do is horrific. And there's nothing left for me here." That's what I learned today, is that there's nothing left for me here.
Right.
And I left. I walked out the door. And I was walking, which was pretty far, back home, and my father had come and got me. And I was quiet. I was silent. I couldn't talk. And he knew something was really wrong. And I went through a really deep depression. And then a week and a half later, they call me back and they say, "Listen, maybe we went too far. Why don't you come back and we'll do some rituals and you can come back into the community?" So one of the things they asked me to do was to bury the lesbian part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know I had a lesbian part of myself.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just, I
Right.
just knew I had certain feelings towards. I didn't know anything. I was innocent, ignorant. So they say, "Okay, you come every time you're supposed to have a group. You go into this room and you read the Bible." And they gave me specific readings, like in Genesis, and I forget which ones, but I had to read them every night. And I had to say these prayers. And in, I don't know about other religions, but in Judaism, you do not pray for yourself in death. You don't say a mourner's cottage to bury a part of your personality or yourself. And so I was I had been in hypnotherapy with the director of the program, and there was a part of me that just wanted it all to go away.
Hmm.
So I agreed to this. So here I am. I don't know what it was, a Tuesday night or something like that, and I was sitting on the box. I was saying the prayers, and I was just like, I don't understand. And before I could say another word out loud, this light and this heat formed behind me. Like I'm sitting here and it was behind me. And I'm looking like this and like this. And I turn around and it's Jesus,
How did you know it was Jesus?
because he looked like himself.
Like, so it was the blonde hair, blue eyes. Like that
No, he
was
had brown hair, brown eyes. He didn't have blue eyes, he had brown eyes.
okay. Wow.
Okay. And he was putting his arms out to me and he was in white robe. He was really short too. I wanted to, like, I'm 5'10", and
Yeah.
he is really short, but he floats. So he was moving towards me, and I turned around and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. I'm absolutely going crazy. I don't know what the heck is happening here." And I backed up and I backed up and I opened the door and I ran out the building and I ran down the boulevard and I ran all the way to get home. And the next day I went to my friend Paul's house, and Paul is a born again Christian, and he was very into his beliefs, and so I went to him and I said, "I need your help." And I didn't want to tell him what happened, but I told him some of the things that happened. I didn't tell him about Jesus. And I said, "I need a Bible. I need a different Bible, and I need you to take me to your church because people there really believe, right?"
Yeah.
I always had a sense of awe about God, and it didn't have specifics. It just had sensation and energy. Again, I've always been oriented with energetic fields. Like I could feel things, I can see, I hear things, I smell things. So we went to this born again Christian church, and this woman started talking in tongues, and I'm a Jew. I don't know
Yeah.
about tongues. And then this woman next to her said, I'll identify, I'll identify, I'll identify, or I'll interpret." And she kept going, but and then she described to a T exactly what happened with me in that room as Jesus came toward me.
Wow. What and so what was that? Like what
What was what? That was a visitation from Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but like what like did Jesus say anything? Did it mean something? Like what was was there like an underlining meaning for it for it to
Yeah,
happen in that moment?
there's an underlining meaning. I believe the message was that God loves me, all of me, and that I hadn't done anything wrong. But I wouldn't get to that understanding for a while. I wouldn't get there. It didn't come automatically. And when that woman started interpreting the tongues, I turned to Paul. I said, "We got to go." And they were like, "Don't you want to be baptized?" I said, "No, I want to go." And do you accept Jesus Christ? I said, "I don't accept anything right now. I need to get out of here."
Yeah, yeah, like you need to clear your head.
I
Yeah.
needed something grounding me because I felt like every experience was lifting me up, and I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why I needed to be lifted up.
Now I have a question because, of course, like you identified at that time as a lesbian, right?
No,
So,
I
no?
didn't. No,
Okay.
I don't, and I still don't. I think lesbian is a very specific term with the energy around it. I
Mhm.
I am I'm everything, and I
Okay.
and my soulmate. Her name is Joan Spittler, and we've been
Okay.
married for 31 years.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you know, but
So, well, at least that you like women as opposed to men, right? Like
yeah,
it's
yeah, my soulmate.
so
Yeah, I knew that I wasn't gonna. I tried to find a soulmate with a man, and it wasn't my
yeah.
flow. And I am queer. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And so, of course, in the Bible and, all religious
Right,
teachings, they tend to down,
right,
um, that specifically,
exactly.
right?
More
But
with men.
your experience is one with God. It seemed like God isn't even a man or a woman. And then obviously you getting this visitation at that moment by Jesus, and that was telling you that he loves you either way. So I guess I'm asking, like, what should be the perspective? Like what's the point of us being down here and being like, oh, like, well, I like men and I like women, and what is the conflict that we seem to have with it if God doesn't have any conflict with it, really?
That's a really good question. And that I think has to do more with organized religion than it has to do with spirituality and God and Jesus and Buddha and any other
Mm,
master. What do all of these teachings say? Love, divine love. The goal here is to have a human experience and live in the state of divine love. But then you have a book that's written that's called the New Testament, and it is got rules and it has delineations, and it gives people permission to think a different way, which to me breaks my heart because I do believe that the message from all paths should be of kindness and love,
right, right.
not destruction, not
Yeah,
killing. If it's not good for you, nobody's taking it away from you. You could be where you are. Well, who gives you the right to take it from someone else?
right.
Surely not God.
Mm.
Surely not God.
It reminds me because when it makes me think of soul lessons, because
That's exactly correct.
it seems like, we were all came here for our different soul lessons,
Correct.
and maybe that's a part of your soul lesson. So I guess before I even talk about the soul lessons, I want you to describe what soul lessons are for people first, and then we can talk about, like, if maybe, like, the different sexes and all of
Sure.
that could be soul lessons.
Okay. Well, the first thing I believe that before we're born, we come in here, there's like a checklist. of lessons we agreed to learn in the lifetime. Then once we agree to that, we're shown different experiences and what you. It's kind of like if you go this way, you're going to get this, this, and this, and if you go that way, you're going to get this, this, and this. Depends what your outcome. What outcome do you want out of this lifetime? What are you willing to do in this lifetime to get to a higher frequency of soul existence? So that's that's one part of it. The other part of it is all beings, all beings, human, animal, plant, foreign beings, extraterrestrial beings. There's a heart. There's not a heart like that in a tree, but there is. If you've ever hugged a tree, you can feel the movement of the energy, the life
Hmm.
force that moves up and down a tree.
Hmm.
That's why I always tell people go hug a tree.
Yeah, I was about to say now you're making me want to go hug a tree.
Yeah, it's a great experience. Just make sure it doesn't have ants. So in our heart is a spark, that God spark, if you will, for lack of a better term. And that spark is what gets the pump going of the heart. Now, the heart sits inside this vessel, this carbon envelope called our flesh. And together we have a human experience that, and outside of ourselves is the larger soul. So all this, all around you, all around me, the air that we breathe, the light that we see, all, and for a blind person, it's the spots and how they communicate, whether it's through music or whatever it is. Those are the beats of having a human experience to be able to expand our soul experience. We come here as humans. I myself have come from an extremely abusive beginning. Um, there was a lot of violence I experienced. And for a lot of years, and that's why I started doing drugs when I did, because I needed something to insulate me on the pain,
To escape.
to escape, to handle it,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be high enough that when somebody was beating me, I could laugh. I
But
mean,
that was part
that's,
of your soul lesson.
yeah. So it
Mm.
was my human experience, but the soul lesson I wouldn't get for years. And so what happened for me was I would go get clean at the age of 27, and that was a knockout, man. Because I did heavy drugs, and I ingested them all, I smoked them all, or I swallowed them all. I didn't use needles. It was my next step, but I didn't go there. I smoked my heroin, and I chased the dragon, and my first drug I ever did was opium. And so I really wanted oblivion. I didn't want
Yeah.
to feel pain. So, was it part of my soul lesson that I became an active drug addict? Yeah, definitely. Definitely was. Did I get clean in 3 years? I got invited to live in Amsterdam and live there. Yeah, it was part of my soul lesson. I actually had that's one of the things I had dreams about before, many years before, when I was at the end of high school and the beginning of college in New York, that I would be in Amsterdam. And I don't know why I'd be in Amsterdam, but I was in Amsterdam. And I would have different experiences there. So there was something that whispered to me. We get these whispers all the time. We have deja vu. What do you think
Yeah.
deja vu is?
Yeah. Explain what deja vu is. I get deja vu all the time.
It means that this was either meant as this is part of your soul lesson. This is everything is intentional. Some people believe that it's happening on a parallel life, or that you had chosen this and it's a checkpoint. Like I've been here before. Like I knew about. Is it? It usually is. I've been here before, but isn't? Can it be altered to? This is something I have felt and feel, and that it feels familiar to me. And why? Because we don't know the answer to that yet. It just feels familiar, like I could have been here before or something,
Yeah.
right? So,
Like this happened already.
uh huh, uh huh. So, but it may have happened already. Far be it for me to say that it didn't happen, but I think for myself, what I've come to understand is that it's a flashback. It's a moment where you were making decisions and choices about your learning and family and
Hmm.
your life and your choices that you made, and those are recurring because it's like when you look at the clock and it says 11:11 or 3:33 or
Yeah.
you know
I always see 251. That's my number I always see.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's like those are your winks from the universe. They're like, "Hi, we're here. We're in sync. In this
Right.
moment, this is a synchronized moment." And I always smile and just feel a little joy in that moment. So, so the soul has these lessons, and we come here. I'm sorry, my clocks are going off. I just fixed them. Um, um, so we have these lessons, and we don't know where you don't get. You're about to have one of your soul lessons.
Yeah.
No, you're in life, and you get knocked upside the head, and you're like, "What am I supposed to get out of all this? I don't get it." And then so for me, I was 3 years clean. I went to Holland. I went to Amsterdam. I was all these feelings. It was safe enough. I was far away from my family of origin to have all these feelings. And, was in therapy, and I said to my therapist, I think I'm losing my mind and I really want to know what my diagnosis is. So she sent me to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist, she did this extensive psychological testing of me. It was a week's worth of testing. And then 2 weeks later, she gave me the results. And what she said to me is, Leigh, you went through hell. Your story is severe, but you are intact. And I was so mad. I wanted something. Give me an excuse. Give me a way out. But that is not the choice of this lifetime. This lifetime for Leigh is about finishing it and putting a dot at the end of the sentence and living in truth. That's one of my soul lessons. I have to live in truth, not in denial. And part of living in truth happens in the human experience, but the understanding of it comes as a soul lesson. It's like when you reach a frequency, like for me, my mom died in January. And
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, it was one of the most important relationships in my life and one of the most painful relationships in my life. And so when my mom was actually passing in the transition of leaving this earth, she was having a tough time. She was fighting. And it was very like almost demonic like. And
Mm.
it was very intense. And it was like I was there and I put my hands between my mom's flesh and her soul because that's one of the gifts I have. And I
When
tried
you say so her flesh and her soul, where's her soul?
the outer part of her soul is outside of her body.
Okay.
So and
Okay.
she was lifting. Like
Okay.
how I just sat up and left. Well, she was lifting, but there were things standing in the way for her to get to a higher level, a higher frequency to die, to literally
Yeah.
transition. So I had my hands there and I tried to lift her soul up, literally, and it wouldn't go. And she
It's
was
too dense.
it
Too
was
dense.
it was really intense. And my wife was behind me. My brother was in the other room with his kids, and they're crying, and I'm just there. And I looked at the nurse, and I swear she was an angel. She said to me, "Is it scaring you?" I said, "It's not scaring me. It's just concerning me that she's in discomfort like this." She said, "She's not." I said, "Okay." So she would spew, 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 and then I was able to lift my hands higher.
Hmm.
And then again, she started spewing, and then lift my hands higher.
When you say spew, like she was talking.
No, she was fluids was shooting out of her
Oh, she
mouth,
was getting okay. Wow.
and and then finally I was able to lift my hands up, and I saw the like the light of God, which I have seen. And I said, "Look, Mom, you see the light?" And she smiled.
Mm.
And I was able to lift her up. As she left my hands, I got a download of everything why she was my mother, and I remembered it all of it. Why I chose this, what the healing was, what it was. It was an open door for the gateway for my life, for the rest of my life of doing the work I actually came here to do, and that I was able to lift her up and hand her off to love. And
Wow, that's amazing that you were able, because it's like your mom brought you into the world, and then you were able to lift her out of the world in a peaceful transitional way. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really intense.
Now, is this because, like, because I hear a lot of like mediums and even people that go through NDEs, like everybody is saying that this time on earth is the best time. It's the best time to be able to do things like you're doing. It's the best time to sort of download this information. Everybody said it's a shift. So is it like, are you able to do that because of this time on earth? Are you able to?
I No, I think that's one of the gifts I got when I came back and working with people. I've been helping people die for many decades, but I never had that kind of experience, but also they weren't my mother.
Right.
But I want to say, I don't think that's because of the shift. I think I had the ability before the shift began, but the
Mhm.
reality is that there is a shift. A major
Yeah.
shift. We're in the age of Aquarius. We're no longer in we're being affected by woman energy from other planets and the moon and everything. It's all this female energy. And then there's a huge reaction to this energy at the same time, and it's part of it. It's like they're like, I'm not into politics, but I'm pretty clear what's going on right now, and it's not fun, and it's not pretty, and it's kind of insensitive and rude, and very dangerous for many people. And but I am not at the place anymore that that's my job. And when I
Hmm.
was younger, it was my job. I was out there. I was did it all. But now my job is to work with people so they stay in their soul's journey, achieving everything they came here to, and not get distracted by all this minutia that's going on with the collective consciousness that's
Mm.
based in fear. This
Mm.
is not a time to dip into fear. This is a time to firm up yourself and your soul and figure out what's in front of you and why you're here at this time in history. This time, everything, there's always been something substantial in every time in history. That's how we've grown. But as a planet, as the earth and all its residents, we have grown to a new level. I mean, just people may say whatever they're going to say about COVID, but never in the history of this planet before has everybody been put on a timeout at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not significant.
Yeah. It was a collective timeout.
The entire planet.
Hmm.
So I'm like, out of my hands, but I believe that there was a purpose for this because
Yeah.
there was a reset going on to
Yeah.
allow for the shift to occur. Now it
Yeah.
continues that way. It's not because there are fires or people are doing what they're doing or that Trump got elected to the presidency. It's not about that. Trump, for me, he is allowing people to experience the dark side of the soul,
Right. Yeah.
and there's a collective of people who can see it from a place of non-fear, and then there are people who see it as permission to act in their worst form,
Mm.
and that's not what this is about. This is not about working, but those people, they have to do what they have to do. I don't know what their soul journey is.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe that's part of their soul
Exactly.
lesson or journey. You never know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Not everybody was born to be angelic,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and
Because
we don't.
we have to experience everything of life. Like that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the great classroom of planet Earth is to be, we don't have to understand it.
Yeah.
We have to accept it, though. We have to say, this is really happening.
Yeah, I have a saying that I say life is lived forward but understood backwards.
In
And it's like we can look back.
retrospect, 2020
Now, I liked something that you said. You said where you go in death is where you are
in
in
life,
life.
right?
Can you just explain what that means, and
Sure.
then like how can someone go to the place you did when you passed?
Well, I think you go where we resonate, again, back to vibration, frequency, where we resonate on the earth. Have you come here to do your work? Some people go to a certain level. They're not, and I don't mean like, graduating high school or college, but that's a good example. That's a good reference. Some people will come and they'll only get a sixth grade education, say that's enough. I'm going to do
Mm.
the rest of my life with this perspective. Okay.
Yeah.
Other people will come into life and go to high school, and that's their perspective. Other people go to school, go and explore, be a student of the world, learn how to meditate. Some people will go to Sedona or to Africa, to certain of the crystals there, or Hawaii, or wherever it is, Bali, Indonesia, wherever that place that resonates, that calls to you. And when we go to these places with the curiosity and a heart full of love, we open gates. There are gates. They're not seen with the human eyes, they're seen in the unseen part of living. We have a huge part of our life that is unseen. We have angels, we have guides, we have friends, we have departed. They're unseen by the human eyes, but they are experienced. I experience them through smell. I experience them through energy. They're always pulling my hair, I'll tell you that. And there's different ways that I'll be sitting in one place and then I'll be in another place. When I do guided meditations with people, they create their environment. So to know where you reside, and I'm not talking about like my apartment here in Los Angeles, da, 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 but this is part, why do I live here looking at the beach, at the ocean right
Right.
here? Because that calms me. And I
Yeah.
am at a place in my evolution. But some people don't, like, you take somebody and they're married they're married, they get divorced, and then one of them meets another partner, but the partner is at the same level as their other partner because they didn't grow to go higher to have a better relationship.
Mm.
You understand?
Mm.
And that's
Yeah.
just the human experience.
Yeah.
You transcend that and you say, well, I am willing to learn. I don't want to be this unhappy anymore. I don't want to come back as a drug addict ever again. I don't want to be a heartless person. I want to be able to heal and love and feel and see. I asked for visual. When I came back from my near death experience in Amsterdam, I got gifts. My
Yeah.
ability to literally feel the energy from above and push it out into the earth. I mean, I'm feeling it right there. I could do that. The vibration's coming, and I'm not holding any crystals at this moment, and it just comes. I have I do channeling, and I have an unseen friend, and his name is Sebastian, and he's been with me for lifetimes, and he is in this lifetime, and we're growing. And now I have a new unseen friend who I'm just getting to know, and Alastra, and she's a Palladian, and she's a high priestess.
Oh, the Palladians. I heard of them. The
Mhm.
Palladians. I heard of them.
Seven sisters. And I've been praying to the Seven Sisters since 1987, where I was at the Michigan Women's Music Festival with a bunch of sisters in the woods with drums, drumming for 3 days to bring up the energy and clear it all up. Before I even understood what I was doing it because that was my soul journey. I didn't have to understand it as a human. I just had to know that it brings me my greatest joy.
Right.
So to raise your frequency or to come up to the level where you go where you are. So wherever you occupy, the ability you have you can change it after life. You could do it
Yeah.
in a transition, but it's harder.
Hmm.
Having a body allows you to learn a lot more.
Interesting. It allows you to, so having a body allows you to change your frequencies as you will a little bit more.
Lot more, not even a little
Okay.
bit, because the body is a carbon envelope, and it just holds, like, it holds our heart and our organs and everything. And then we have a mind. And the thing about it, what I always understood was when they told me I had a really high IQ, and they said it was really high, and they said, I said, so what is that supposed to give me? I don't feel like it gives me, like, more intelligence, if you will. But what it does, I believe, this is my understanding of it today, is it allows me to access more parts of my brain.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So the frequency again rises and does a whole thing, and it's just incredible what happens. So I that's why I say you go where you are.
You
Where are
go
you?
where
Are
you
you
are.
happy? Are you
Right.
in love?
Right.
Or you feel like you're struggling? Do you,
Right.
why don't you work it out before you get out of here?
Wow. So how can people gain access to the same type of energy that you gotten access to? Is it only because of the near death experience, or can other
No,
people?
I've been asking for it my whole life. I didn't know it.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, from the first moment when I was 4 years old, standing outside my great grandmother's screen door when we were upstate New York at our family's home, and my grandma said, "Go get Bubby," who's my great grandmother, and I went to her door to get her for dinner, and she was lighting the Sabbath candles, and there was this orb of light, and her mouth was moving, but no sound was coming out, and I stood there, and it was like, whoa! And that moment I became conscious of awe. And for
Mm,
the rest of my life, I have been chasing that feeling and
mm,
finding it. So
mm.
we all have to remember our moments because we all have them.
Yeah.
We all have them. I'm not, I mean, I want, I'm not, I don't mean this as an ego thing. I am not special in that way. I was willing to do the work. Yes, I have gifts. Yes,
Yeah.
I have a certain kind of personality. Yes, I am different than many, but that's because I was graced with that. It's not
Mm.
because I created that.
Right.
So the work here on the planet is to, that's why, like the Saturn return that happens every 26 to 28 years, where the planets line up just as they were when you were born. We get to do an inventory. Every human on the planet gets to do this, and it happens every 28 years. And so the first one usually is like hell on wheels, and it lasts for a couple of years. And everything that you have acquired in this lifetime, what you need to move forward because of your soul agreements,
Yeah.
that stays, but the rest of it falls away. Now, if you spend your time trying to catch everything that's falling away, you're going to use up all your energy in the wrong
Mm.
direction and you won't grow.
Mm. Because that's the goal, really, is for our souls to grow, is for us
Yes,
to evolve, our
right.
souls to evolve.
Exactly. And that's what this planet is all about. We come here to grow, to heal, and not that the soul is injured or that it needs healing, but the goal is to be able to be in the essence of oneness. And if
Yeah.
you're feeling sick or used or hurt or injured, you don't want to be part of one.
Mm.
You don't. You're like, why would I want to do that? That
Mm.
hurts.
Yeah.
So life, because and with the Saturn return, it's a time to clear out everything that we have acquired in the first 27 years. You see, it's when I got clean off of drugs. It was 27. You
Mm.
know, and then it comes again, 54. I had it then, and my next one is in front of me. Um, but the reality is that this is about how we can change our frequency. But we don't have to wait for our Saturn returns to change. We have to be willing and want it. And that's another point. I don't believe that we as beings want for just anything. I think our wants are specific to our programming, our direction, or what we need to enhance the quality of fill in the gap. So it's like some people want a boyfriend. You going back to that. I tried the boyfriend. I had many boyfriends. I have a lot of men that I love still to this day. I'm not a separatist. I am not a hater. But I was looking for a woman.
Mm.
And I didn't find her until 1993 is when Joni and I met. And my whole life shifted because I got another piece of the puzzle. Now, it wasn't easy
Yeah.
because I didn't know. I wasn't programmed for unconditional love.
Right. Right. Mm.
And when she would tell me she loved me, it felt like glass was cutting my flesh. So I needed to learn. Was I willing to just react or was I willing to heal? And what I would say to people is if you're not willing to heal, then you're not willing to heal. I, on the other hand, am willing to heal and I desire it. And it's
Yeah.
really, really important to me.
You have to want it. You have to
Do
want the change. You have to want to get to a higher frequency. You have to
right.
want it.
And you
Mm.
and so in that wanting of that comes what you want to get there. So you're attracted to certain things and not attracted to other things. And that's part of the soul experience too. Because so I'll say to many people I work with, I say, you only want for what already exists. It wouldn't be a want if you didn't have it.
Yeah.
So a want is something that tells you there's something on top of that that needs to be removed so that you can connect to that want. Because you don't want for outside things, you want for
Yeah.
inside things.
Yeah.
So that's part of the healing process. But how many people are really willing to stop and take the time to do that work?
Yeah, you're right. I guess it's information. I think a lot of people are unaware, and they're just sort of just out here just doing whatever. Like I remember when Jesus was on the cross and he said, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And
Hmm.
it's like nobody knows what they're doing, and everybody is just reacting,
Right.
as you said. So
But
wow.
isn't the shift now to know what we're doing?
Yeah,
Is it the
yeah,
shift now to be responsible? And there's a huge amount of creatorship going on that we have the
yeah,
ability to manifest in a way.
yeah, very quickly too.
Yes, and that's one of the biggest parts of the shift is that it's not going to take what it took before. It's going to happen like that.
Yeah,
So if you're somebody who believes in karma, the goal of karma is not to have bad karma or good karma. It's to have no karma.
yeah, yep, yep,
Because and that's the place and the big one behind all of this is ego. The
yeah.
human perception of personality and self.
The goal is to, if somebody cuts you off in traffic, instead of cursing them and wishing that they get cut off, the goal is for you to automatically forgive and have compassion for them,
Yeah.
and hope for the best still.
Yeah,
Because when you tie the negative karma to them, you're also tying it to right back to yourself, to bring more of that energy to you.
correct. And so it's not about bad or good, it's about none. So
Yeah,
it's like when it gets scary and when I have a reaction, I've been rear-ended on the 405. It's not a fun experience. But the reality is, uh, was it personal to Leigh? No, they don't know me. Why would it be personal to me? That's their stuff. And in that moment, we were brought together to have this incident, and there would be more things that come out of this incident than we can see in this present moment.
right, right.
It's just the truth. So if one line's another answer to your question, how to get there, how to raise the frequency, is to live in the truth, not your opinion, the truth,
Mm,
and to have unconditional acceptance of the truth.
mm. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Living in the truth and unconditional acceptance of the truth. Well, Leigh, for the people that want to get in contact with you, or maybe do a reading, or anything like that, can you let them know, like, how they can do that? I also have this information in the description box on YouTube when we publish the interview.
Okay. Well, for me, you can contact me one through my website, leighgrode.com. You get a little more information. Things are evolving, and I'm doing different kind of connections with people, like my sound bowl healing stuff. I do a lot of sound bowl healings, and
Okay.
I've been working with people with cancer to try and open up the blockages in the actual cancer cells to break them up. I mean,
Mm.
this is the kind of stuff that I'm focusing on right now. Um, so you can contact me that way. I'm sure you'll include my email address, which is my
Yep.
Leigh Grode at Gmail, and just call me. Not call me on the phone, but yeah, do contact me. I'm going to tell you up front, I won't do the work for you, but I will walk with you and guide you as best as I humanly can, and I
Right.
can, and that's pretty good. And on the other hand, I can help you learn about your soul and just sit in your soul and how to do soul to soul conversations with people. You're having a fight with somebody, you don't have to talk to them. You could take a meditation space where your soul goes to their soul and you can communicate and heal a lot of things without ever saying a word to the person, human to human.
Mm,
There's a lot
mm,
that can be done. It's very exciting time. You don't have to suffer. If you are suffering, I'd like you to ask yourself, what are you getting out of the suffering? What is it costing you? And do you want to make a different choice?
I love that. Well, again, thank you so much for the interview and
This,
being on the podcast. I always love having conversations like these. They're always very inspiring, and definitely always speak to me. So I know that other people will hear it and it will resonate as well. So thank you again, Leigh,
thank you.
and once again, thank everybody for listening. This is Vision Rebirth and cut.